After MMA fans have been waiting for what feels like an eternity, Francis Ngannou is officially making his PFL debut. No, he's not leaving the PFL hanging. Yes, he is actually going to be fighting in MMA. He has a fight booked. We're ready to go. He's not just boxing. Francis Ngannou is actually going to fight. We're going to take a look at the announcement and kind of what the MMA community has to say about it. And not going to lie to you, Francis Ngannou seemed to have lost quite a bit of steam on pretty much gathering the the rounds in the MMA community because it was a little bit difficult finding a bunch of replies. We're going to take a look at a post from Happy Punch, Championship Rounds, basically a lot of MMA media that has posted about this, and we're going to take a look at some of the top replies to get a gauge on how people are feeling about this. I'm going to react to it, and I would love to know what you guys think about the entire thing down below afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. I decided to take a look at Happy Punch for the official announcement over here. Francis Ngannou is officially making his return to MMA versus Renan Ferreira on October 19th for the PFL heavyweight title. If you guys don't know, Renan Ferreira just won the PFL heavyweight title over Ryan Bader. It's an okay win. Ryan Bader's done well for himself outside the UFC, but at the end of the day, what is Ryan Bader? He's like 40, he's around 40 years old at this point, so not really that great of a matchup, but let's take a look at what some people are saying about this. And before we actually do that, I forgot to give my own thoughts on the matter, and honestly, I never really cared for Francis Ngannou all that much, and I know it's a very, very unpopular take, but I actually don't really like Francis Ngannou that much. If you guys are interested, I have a couple videos explaining kind of why I'm not a Francis Ngannou fan, but I just didn't really care. I don't care about him, and I'm a big Bellator fan. I've been trying to get into the PFL. I kind of like the way they do the tournaments, but it's just not really hitting for me for the promotion, and this fight in general, it's an okay fight. Renan Ferreira, I will say, there was a lot of replies that I kind of had to get through when gathering things to make this video over here, and there was a lot of people saying, who or Francis Ngannou is going to run through this bump? Renan Ferreira is not necessarily the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he is far from just a very unknown person. He's a very, very big, lengthy guy with real power, and with Francis Ngannou right now, and actually, I don't know this. How old is Francis Ngannou? Sorry, guys, I should have had this up. I'm looking it up as we are recording the video over here. Francis Ngannou's 37 years old. He's getting up there in age, and just having been KO'd and being KO'd with boxing gloves, I don't know. I don't know how much I really like this. And I noticed that Francis Ngannou opened up as like over a minus 300 favorite. This one might have upset written all over it. So the top reply over to Happy Punch was Zakarama saying this, lackluster return. This is kind of how I feel about it, but I do agree with the comment over here. Who the hell did you expect him to fight? Their most dangerous, that's their most dangerous heavyweight, I think, and that's entirely true. Like, this is the kind of return I expected for Francis Ngannou. Honestly, I was not sure that Francis Ngannou was going to fight in the MMA for the PFL. I thought he was just going to go, oh, okay, I can retire now. I don't know if that's actually something you can do. Can you just retire, then you'll remain under contract in case you decide to open up your MMA journey again? I actually don't know if that's a thing, so if anybody could open up in the comments down below, I would really appreciate that. Brains MMA had this to say, Francis via KO in the very first round, and the reason why I included this one was because this is a lot of the types of comments that you're seeing, either that, like people are just counting out Renan Ferreira completely because they don't necessarily know who he is, and sometimes those fighters are the most dangerous one. Let's take a look. Zakar MMA had something else to say more along the same thing. The most boring return against the biggest no-name ever. And he's kind of a no-name. He's a little bit more than a no-name. Like, the hardest core MMA fans know Renan Ferreira, but there's not much else, to be honest with you. It is a little bit of a boring return. But then again, who did you want him to return? Are fans acting like we were going to get the John Jones-Francis Ngannou matchup? No, that's just absolutely not what it would have happened. So, Ragnar85 had this to say, PFL needs to work on the pacing of their events. No one wants to watch an hour of commentators talking about fights without any action in the ring, and this would have been exciting after the Fury fight, not after Joshua folded it in half. That last part's entirely true, and I actually completely agree, although I will say the PFL seems to be working on it a little bit when it comes to the pace of their events, because there were times where it's like, what was the event where we're straight up just watching a concert? I'm like, dude, I wanted to watch MMA. What am I listening to right now? If you guys are interested, by the way, I made an entire video about the best and worst things about each MMA promotion. I talk about PFL and the things that kind of need to be fixed over there. So if you guys are interested, go check that out. That's on the channel. But it's entirely true, man. I don't like the PFL for a variety of reasons. Well, I don't dislike the PFL. It's just probably my least favorite MMA organization because of this stuff. Like, we're going like 45 minutes between events. And Ngannou, after he got KO'd, I don't know if like the aura of Francis Ngannou has been gone a little bit. So the Cake also had something to say. It's insane that the PFL signed him back in 2023 and he's just now having his first fight after the banner. That's so true. And I don't think it's completely wrong, to be honest with you, for the people who are saying that. And I was kind of in this camp, kind of not. I wasn't entirely sure. It's just, if you told me to like make an assumption, if you were told me to place a bet on whether or not Francis Ngannou fights for PFL, I would have said no way. But I'm not entirely sure about that. So no way wasn't really my entire opinion on it. You know what I mean? So it's understandable for fans to think that, but it's crazy that after 2023 they signed him, and after all of this they're finally getting their debut. I'm shocked that he got signed by a promotion, to be honest with you. So the Combat Sports Matrixer had this to say: that's a fire main and co-main event. I thought Francis also said Doumbé would be on this card. Forgive my casualness, I don't know who that is. If that's the case, then this is going to be one fire card. Excited to see Ngannou back in the sport to defend his lineal heavyweight belt against a dangerous opponent. Now, I don't know who that is. I am still learning all the PFL fighters, and I know on this channel I've been asked to break down some PFL cards, and the reason that I don't is because I'd have to do an incredible amount of tape study because I don't really know a ton of the PFL fighters. I only know the PFL fighters if they come from another organization. Like, I'm familiar with the vast majority of Bellator fighters. I'm familiar with guys over in One Championship, LFA, even in some other organizations like Cage Warriors a little bit. It's just PFL. I don't know. Never been too into it, but I am learning. Maybe one day we'll get into that. But anyways, again, it's good for the PFL, this main event. It's good for the PFL, but it's not necessarily a good main event in my opinion. I don't know. I just can't see Francis Ngannou really bringing the excitement that he once had. Another thing that I forgot to mention too is if you want to talk about Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferreira, and people are talking about how Renan Ferreira isn't necessarily the best heavyweight of all time, Francis Ngannou isn't either. All he has is one giant punch. That's it. There's not a ton of technique there. Have you ever seen Francis Ngannou box? There's not a ton going on with it. He gets by on his power. Look what happened with the Stipe Miocic fight. Look what happened in the Cyril Gane fight. He gets by on his power. If he doesn't knock you out, he doesn't look so great. So I actually think it's an okay matchup. But anyways, Kieran Kumar had this to say: a decent amount of people have been doubting Ngannou at every turn. It's kind of strange to me. When he left the UFC, he fumbled the bag. And then he signs with the PFL and gets a couple of boxing matches, and it turned to he's going to leave the PFL hanging. He doesn't give a crap about MMA, and all the talk about his opponents getting paid is BS because he's not going to fight them. I still kind of think the opponent's talking about getting paid. Like, I think it's like he's doing the John Jones a little bit, where it's like, you know, John Jones is sitting around right now going, well, guys, you really want me to fight Aspinall, but I can't believe that you guys just don't care about Stipe and his family getting a well-earned check. I see the same amount of, like, honesty in Francis Ngannou. It's just not there. Francis Ngannou is in it for himself, and I will never, honestly, I'll never believe otherwise, to be honest with you. But he has proved a lot of us wrong. Everybody thought that he fumbled the bag. It's crazy that he succeeded. I think the correct thing to believe was that he was going to fumble the bag, but hey, he proved all of us wrong. Anyways, Phil had this to say: pretty underwhelming, to be honest. For people who don't know, Ngannou's opponent got 30-27 by a dude on the Contender Series next week. He's terrible. He's not terrible, but he's not that great. Ngannou shouldn't even be fighting after the worst KO of all time and his son passing away. It's all just pressure from PFL. Irresponsible. But I mean, like, he's signed and he's supposed to make his debut for a really long time. Yeah, you need to make sure the dude's okay, but at the end of the day, like, he should be fighting for the PFL. With all the money that they're paying for Francis Ngannou, I know he's been going through some stuff, but he definitely has to fight. And I don't know how long it's been since he got KO'd, but I mean, if he's medically cleared to fight, then I guess it's okay. So, underwhelming main event, in my opinion, but it's probably the best they could do with PFL. I don't know what else the fans really wanted to see, but I mean, I'm going to be watching it. I'm sure a lot of us will be too over in the hardcore community over here, guys. Let me know what you think about the entire matchup down below, what people had to say. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching. On the screen right now, if you want to continue watching the channel, I'll have that video right here on the screen, the one that I was talking about, breaking down all of the MMA promotions. You can check out that video right here, guys. I will see you over in the next video. Take care.